Hi Stampers, it's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Hounds. Today I have a fall card that is featuring a technique that I am calling Faux Colored Metal. What it uses is one of our, and I'm finding that the silver, any of the rose gold foil sheets, actually, the rose gold ones are on the September 2022 weekly deals right now. But any of the lighter colored metals that are shimmer, or not shimmer, but the paper, the metal foil paper, works really good for this technique. And then you'll need a sanding block of some sort. Now, this is an old retired Stampin' Up! One that we used to carry, but you can also use, when you get your nails done and they give you that white, I'm just trying to see if I had one handy, the white little cubed sanding block. I don't know if I've got one handy here. Oh yeah, here we go. Of course, this is really old, but you can use one of these too from when you get your nails done. So that works just as well. I'm just using this because I have one. So, and then I like to use the StazOn Saddle Brown ink pad. And then you can just select any of your normal colored ink pads. I'm going to be using Cajun Craze. And then you also will need a paper towel or a napkin or something just to help kind of buff off some of the excess ink. And then that's it. So it's kind of fun. I've been, of course, like, you know me, I like to do lots of samples. So I've been playing around. I had to get my little Halloween 31 tote out. So a lot of these are going to be Halloween samples because I was just kind of playing around. So on this one, I did the silver foil and then I sanded it and swiped it with some gorgeous grape ink. So you kind of get that little, and this is using the quatrefoil embossing folder with that. So that, and also this is the Bewitching bundle. And then here's another fall one using the leaf fall, which we're going to be using today, embossing folder. And on this one, I did it more on the, I think it's like a bronzy kind of copper foil paper. And then I sanded it and then, of course, buffed it with my colors with that. So that's another one. This one I did on the gold foil, and I used the fern embossing folder. And on this one, it's a little bit harder because the gold is so dark, but I did kind of swipe it a little bit with the old olive ink pad. And then I left some of the white showing from where I sanded, so that kind of removes that foil top. And then this one uses the new, I think it's Whimsical Woodland embossing folder that's in the 2022 mini catalog. And on this one, I sanded it and then I went back with the one of the new In Colors Orchid Oasis for that. So kind of gave it that blue color. And then I think the rest of these are kind of a lot of Halloween ones. So again, that quatrefoil embossing folder, and then I used the Parakeet Party ink pad to swipe it over to kind of get that green. And again, this is on the silver. So a lot of these are, like I said, I find the silver tends to work a little bit better. It kind of pops that color more. So again, these are all with that Witches bundle. This one, I used the black foil packet. So in this one, you get like, it's kind of like it's not like a black. It's almost got like a little bit of a purple cast to it. And then there's like a darker grayish silver and then a light silver in that pack. So this is with the darkest one. And so on this one, I sanded it and then I buffed it with, or inked it up with the Mango Melody ink pad. So you can kind of see that. And then here I did the silver again, but I used my Saddle Brown, and then I went back with my Cajun Craze ink pad to get that. So I kind of left a little bit more of that. You can see that Saddle Brown showing through, but the base of it was silver. And that's the same with this one too. And then these are just some, these aren't what the technique, but I just had them in here because they're my Halloween ones. So I was going through some old retired paper and making my Halloween cards. So those are all done. So anyway, we are going to make the Christmas barn one, which I'm calling now because it's a fall barn, but we are using the Christmas barn stamp set, which is new in the mini catalog. There's also a coordinating die that goes with it. So that's kind of fun. And then we're also using for the saying, this is in the main catalog, the very best occasions, or no, this is in the mini catalog, sorry. And this one has some good inside or kind of outside sayings for your card. So we're going to use that as well today. So So we are going to get started. To save on time, I've already, because I don't have space on my desk here for my embossing folder and my embossing Stampin' Cut machine. So this is the actually I think this is like champagne, but the silver would work too. So this is what it looks like uninked. Okay, so what I did is I just cut my paper however I wanted it. I placed it in my folder because this one has kind of like a cascading, I don't know if you can see it here, but it's not completely embossed. Like this plate, this is empty down here. So position your paper so that you get most of the leaves, you know, showing, and then you'll run it through the machine and then you'll get that. So we're now going to, so once it's embossed, we want the raised side facing up. We're going to go ahead and take our sanding tool and very lightly, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. You're going to buff so that you're removing some of that foil, so that you're going to end up seeing white. Okay, that's what you want, because this is what the ink is then going to stick to. So we'll just go ahead and just finish buffing all of this. You want to avoid doing too many scratches on the spots that aren't embossed, just because those will kind of show up. But it does happen, but just kind of be a little bit careful when you're doing it. So I'm just kind of applying pressure really just on those raised images. And this does get a little messy with the dust, so just make sure you've got something underneath to kind of capture this, because you will get a kind of a dusty desk from it. So we're just getting all of those leaves buffed so that they're white. And then once you have all that buffed, you're then going to take a paper cloth or a paper towel or a dust cloth just to remove some of this dust. Now you've got all that kind of the white images. So let's go ahead and just wipe this off just to get rid of that dust. I'm just going to tap this into my garbage can. Zoom out just a little bit here. Okay, so now the next part is I like to do the saddle brown first. So I'm going to go ahead, and since StazOn is a permanent ink, I really don't like to use my blending brush for this, just because I don't want it to really stain the images on my, sorry, it's got to grab my blending brush here, excuse my arm. I do need it for my Cajun craze. But for this, I'm just going to do a direct to paper. So very lightly, you're going to, I kind of usually start on my scratch paper and then swipe it so that I'm getting ink on here. So just go over that, and I just kind of flip it, and I go from the other way. And then I'm going to go back with that paper towel. And this is where I also need, just so I don't get inky fingers, I'm just going to take a Post-it note and kind of hold on to that so my fingers don't get inky. And now I'm just going to kind of buff and remove some of that excess ink. Because if you don't do this part, then anytime you touch the card, you're going to get ink on your fingers. And I'm going to do a little bit more on this side just to kind of get some of those, and then we'll buff it again, just kind of removing some of that excess ink. So now with this StazOn, you are going to get some of that yellow or the saddle brown. So now you've got, you can still see some of the silver, you see a little bit of the gold, and then where we sanded it, it's giving it another color, which is that rusty color. So you can just leave it just like this and call it good. I'm going to go back now with my Cajun Craze ink pad, and I'm going to take a blending brush. And now, same thing, I'm going to go over those raised images with my blending brush, applying the color in a circular motion. And then again, we'll go back with our paper towel and kind of buff to remove some of that excess ink. And now you've got that Cajun Craze, you've got a little bit of that gold, you still see the silver. So all good. So now that is it for that technique. We're now going to go ahead and finish the card. So what I like to do is, you'll notice I kind of cut this at an angle. So when I was stamping it and embossing it and coloring it, I left it, you know, a rectangle. I'm now going to go ahead and cut a little bit. I'm going to cut at an angle on my paper trimmer here. So let's see here. I want like so. So now I've got that angle. So then we can go ahead and this then will be attached to my card front. So I want to go ahead and stamp my barn first before I put my paper down, just to make sure I've got my barn positioned where I wanted it. So the barn, I'm going to go ahead and ink this in Memento Black, Tuxedo Black. And if you're wondering, when you look at my photopolymer, it's really stained gold. That was from that stays on. So that's the only bad part about the stays on. It does really stain stain your stamp. So, but it still stamps fine. So we're gonna go ahead, and I know I want my barn at the bottom here. So we're just gonna go ahead and stamp the barn, making sure get good pressure. And again, this would be a good one because there's so much detail to use your Stamparatus. And hopefully I got it inked up good. Yay! Always good for a video. So that's it for that. And then I'm going to use my Stampin' blends. You can use watercolor pencils, Stampin' Write markers, but I'm going to go ahead and use the Stampin' blends, and I'm going to do Cajun Craze for the barn. And I'm going to start with the light and very carefully kind of go around and just color this. I am a scribble and blend type of girl. I wish I had the talent like my mom does when it comes to watercoloring. She does amazing, amazing work. I just scribble. And I got a little out of the lines there, but we'll fix that with some shadowing. I don't have my cheaters on, so I'm having bear with me. They're up on my work desk. Yes, I am back to work full time now after my spine surgery. So today was this week was my first full-time week back since I'm having spine surgery and being out on medical leave for 12 weeks. And let me tell you, it's rough going back to work after being off for so long. But things are going well. My back is slowly getting better each and every day. All right, and then I'm going to go and let's see here. I'm going to do the smoky slate for my top of the barn. So this is the light. And I'm just color that in. Yeah, I've had to replace some of my Stampin' blends. Sometimes after a lot of use, your tips start to get a little wonky, so I've had to replace a bunch of my markers already from so much use, but that's good. Okay, so there's that. And then for the rest of it, I'm using from the neutral Stampin' Blends. You get all of these colors, and I did, like I said, I did my little cheat sheet, so I knew what each, because they're numbered instead of having a name. So I am using 500 and 600. And this is just, let's see here. This one is kind of more brown. I think this one has got a little bit, yeah, this has got a little, it's a little bit darker. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 500. It's kind of my ground. And then I'm going to go back and do the 600. I'm going to outline a little bit of the windows. The doors, kind of the frames. And this, you could color your barn whatever you wanted to do. Okay, and then I'm going to go back with the dark Cajun Craze. And now this is where I'm going to be doing a little bit more of my highlighting, adding some of the shading. My mother is probably cringing as she watches me color here. But that's one thing with the Stampin' Blends. They are quite forgiving. So I'm going to go back with the light. And this is where I scribble and blend. And as it dries, a lot of the pen marks will disappear too. And then I'm going to do the dark smoky slate and do a little bit more dimension on the roof. And then again, just go back with that light color and finish blending it in. And then I think I do want another, I'm going to grab, just a little bit more, another brown. I'm going to do, I think, the light crumb cake. I can find it. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to do this a little bit on the doors. Just to give it a little bit more dimension here. And what's nice with the Stampin' Blends, you can keep just adding colors, the layers. You do want to make sure that when you are doing this, that this wouldn't be your card base, because it does seep through. So you always want to make sure you've got something layered behind. And this is going to be layered onto Cajun Craze, so it's not going to show, through. call that good. All right, so now we can go ahead and attach this foil onto the top of the card. And this was like I said, it was a quarter sheet, and my measurements on the vanilla were 4 by 5 1/4. And then this little piece was like, I think like 3 1/2 by, what did I do? Like 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, sorry. So yeah, then the base was like 4 by 5 1/4 was the vanilla. Okay, let's make sure that's on. And then this is going to be attached then to our card base, which is just a half a sheet of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock. And then now you won't be able to see this showing through because it's being attached to the card base. This is Cajun Craze, is my colored cardstock. And then my saying, I already die cut my little stitched rectangular. This is from our craft cardstock, so it's a little bit darker than our crumb cake, and this comes in like 6 by 6 packages, and I really like it because it does have kind of more of that brown paper sack kind of look. So I'm going to do my saying in Cajun Craze and then ink that onto the craft cardstock here. And then we will just pop this up with a couple of dimensionals. And I'm using the black dimensionals. I love those. I tend to use those almost more now than I do the white ones. And then I'm just going to offset this just a little bit to the side. And then I always like to do a neutral piece of cardstock on the inside of my card, just to give it a little bit more stability, and then also just easier for stamping if you're whatever your sentiment. So I'm going to leave my inside blank because I don't have my Thanksgiving greetings out, because I'm going to make this one a happy Thanksgiving card. So that's kind of what I'm going to put in there. And then this little piece that we cut off, I'm going to go ahead and utilize that scrap and place it on the inside of my card, so that way you don't have any scraps left over. And we'll just plop that right on the bottom. So it kind of ties in that whole faux colored metal from the inside, outside to inside. So that is it. That is the faux colored metal technique. So give it a whirl. Try out, get those foil papers and cardstocks out, and I would love to see your samples. So make sure you join my Facebook group. You can find me on Stampin' with the Hounds, and I will stamp again with you soon. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.